is terrible. Okay, and we are now live. I will get on with the admin, and you two can take it on from here.
Hi. Hi everyone.
I'm Elliott's Anna. Sorry, Joe. I am Anna. I'm the equivalent to Anna.
Oh, okay.
You're the equivalent to Anna. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, welcome back, Elliott. I know we've spoken before, and obviously on a different topic completely.
Yeah.
But I wanted to have this discussion with you because obviously the incident with George Floyd, I think, has shaken a lot of people out of their complacency. Because I think I was one of those where I thought, well, you know what, at least in the UK, it ain't as bad as over there. But it's it was a sickening event to watch. And I don't even know where to go from here. And I'm hoping that from your perspective, you can give us some insight into what we can do as individuals, because we're not government departments, but there's something we can do individually, I guess.
Right. Well, first of all, I appreciate being asked to talk about this particular topic. It is important to me as a human being, and it's important to me as a solution-focused professional. But it's interesting because I'm trying to think of a better way to say this. The George Floyd video was not shocking to people who look like me. I don't know a single Black person, and particularly Black males, who have not had negative encounters with the police. And what it felt like is, I remember being a child, and there was a rap group called NWA, this highly controversial, like very, in your face group of rappers, these Black rappers. And they made a bunch of anti-police songs about what the environment was like in Los Angeles. And to us, growing up as a Black person, we didn't know that other people didn't believe them. So like when they were making these rap songs about their encounters with the police, we had no idea that people were listening to these songs and didn't believe what these rappers were saying. And then Rodney King video came out in 1989. And it was a similar experience where like the white community saw video of a Black man being beaten as he laid on the ground unarmed. And people were like, wow, like this is shocking. But to us, it was like, we've been telling you this.
Yeah.
So as unbelievably disturbing as that video was, for us, it was very much like, this is what we've been saying. Here's video evidence of what happens all the time. Because like I said, I don't know a single Black person who hasn't had a negative and potentially dangerous interaction with the police at some point. I myself have had several. I'm not anti-police. Like, I think the police have a difficult job. I volunteered for a year with the Arlington Police Department when I was in uni. I'm absolutely not anti-police, but I am anti-bigot. I am anti-racism, and I don't necessarily care where it shows up. I'm anti that always.
And I guess looking at, like I said, for you it wasn't a shock. For us, it was. Do you feel that the movement that's happening now, does it feel different this time around, or do you feel it's just going to be okay?
Yeah, I think it does. It does feel different this time around, because I think there are two things that are different, and I describe it to people as it feels like there's a window for change, and if we're not careful, that window might close. But we have to make sure we in fact open the window even further. But the two things I notice that are different are, number one, I don't have to work as hard to convince non-Black people that sometimes being a Black man is really not safe.
Yeah.
Because I can remember telling people, because I have experienced discrimination within the solution-focused community. And I would tell somebody that, and they wouldn't believe me. Not because they were bad people, or not because, but what happens, like, if I tell you something about somebody you've known for 20 years, you have a tendency to review your history with them to confirm or not confirm what you just heard, right? So if I tell you XYZ person has done something discriminatory, we have a tendency to think, but I've known them 20 years. I haven't seen them discriminate before. Maybe Elliott is taking something the wrong way, or maybe something bad happened, but it wasn't based on, you know what I mean? But we don't just take it on. And in the past few months, I don't have to work very hard to convince people racism is real, and I have experienced it. The second thing that I've noticed that I have never seen in my 43 years of life is white people addressing other white people about their conduct, behavior, and words. And for me, those two things, the ability to listen and the ability to hold everybody accountable, has made this particular experience different, because I don't remember this before. This is a whole new experience for me, that I think is a good sign for the potential for change. But we have a lot of work to do, and I think if we continue to do these things, then potentially we have the ability to have impactful long-term change.
And actually, you saying that recently, there's a really, really lovely man who I think I've met a couple of times called he's a Black Turk, if you like, Ertanj, and originally from Africa, many, many years ago, and he's now started one of these live conversations just as that we're having now, and he has guests on, and he's talking about the discrimination between other Turkish people towards him and other people towards him as being a black man. And I never thought of that before, because I remember this man from a very, very young age, and he was just a lot darker, and that was it. He was a Turkish-speaking black guy, but the black bit never came into it. He was just just what I mean. So for him to actually go live and say, actually, I've experienced all this, you think, like, this is really a work. I mean, it's so ignorant of me, isn't it? Because you just think it's just a guy.
But it's not ignorant. It's your lived experience. Like, are either of you allergic to bees?
No.
All right. Okay. So I'm going to use this example anyway. But we all probably know.
I am.
We all probably know somebody who's allergic to bees. If I say to that person, let's go take a walk, and I live in Texas where we have a lot of bees, it's really hot. If I say to a friend, like, let's go take a walk, and if that friend's allergic to bees, he's going to be paying attention to the environment in a different way than I will. So let's say we walk around for an hour, and then we come back to my house, and I say, do you enjoy the walk? He says, no, I saw a ton of bees. I was really scared. I might say, but I didn't see any bees. But it's because I wasn't looking. I wasn't noticing. It's not relevant to me. So it's kind of like, it's not really ignorant as much as just lived experience. But I think where we get into trouble historically is my friend will say, I didn't like the walk because I saw so many bees. I say to him, but you should have liked it anyway. You also saw really pretty mountains, and you saw really pretty trees. You saw really pretty water. But I just shut my mouth and listened to him as he expressed, but I also saw a lot of really scary bees, and it made me not enjoy the walk as much as I would have liked to. And I don't think we do that well. Like when I tell people so-and-so did something egregiously racist, people are like, yeah, but they're still a good person. And I'm like, but that's crazy. You know what I mean? Like, we should just listen to people's stories. We should listen to people when they express their lived experience. And for whatever reason, historically, we are not good at that. That is not what we do very well as human beings. And as a black man, I can't tell you how disrespected and minimized I feel whenever it happens. Now, in the past few months, and particularly the past month, that kind of thing does not happen. But it does happen. It is a real issue that when we express what our lived experience is, some white person tells us, but no, that's not right. I was like, but no, it's right. I lived it. I was there. I saw those damn bees. But it's just not a fun experience all the time.
Yeah. And you were saying something really interesting about how there's now white people questioning other white people, because it shouldn't be down. It shouldn't be down to a black person to keep justifying what's been happening. We should be seeing it anyway.
Yeah.
You know, I once heard somebody say that racism will never be solved until white people see it as a white issue, as opposed to a something that black people just have to deal with. And I think that's true. Like if you see someone, and I don't care what their race is, I don't care what their gender is. If you see someone on the London Tube inappropriately touch a woman, you just think that's wrong.
Yeah.
I don't care about their race. That person who just inappropriately touched someone, that's wrong. And we're going to address it, and we're going to protect that woman because it's wrong. And no one says anything to justify. And those of you, anybody been on the London Tube system, like that kind of thing is not uncommon.
Yeah. And
you can see like that is wrong. It shouldn't be done. We're going to support and protect that woman immediately. But if a black person, if someone says something racist or someone says something homophobic, if someone says something inappropriately, no one does. There's not the same response. And until there is, we're gonna struggle with this particular issue. Now, in the past month, I have totally seen white people saying something, and then another person saying, "We're not allowed to say that. We have to be aware of our privilege. Here's a movie you should go watch. Here's a book that you should read." And for me, I have valued that a lot. I value that tremendously.
Mm-hmm. And I think there's because I've often heard people say, for example, if a black person gets angry or upset, it's like, oh, well, he's got a chip on his shoulder. Do you know what I mean? And we kind of justify it in that way, which is wrong.
Yes, I agree, because it's really easy. It's really easy for me. Like, I'm a very impassioned person. I have a very loud, strong voice. It's easy for people to be like, that's the angry black man.
Yeah.
And when you do that, it's so dismissive. Number one, in certain areas, I have every right to be angry. And number two, the easiest thing you can do to devalue someone is to call them crazy, is to call them not trustworthy, is to call them, they're just, and it's really, really frustrating. Like, some really, really difficult things, and I'm trying to debate if I should say names or not. We'll see how it goes. But some really difficult things have happened to me in the solution-focused field. And I'm not someone who can play games very well. So if you do something horrible to me, and then I see you at a conference, you shouldn't expect me to shake your hand. So there was someone who did something horrible to me. I saw them at a conference, and in front of a lot of people, I didn't shake their hand. They got pretty upset about it. They asked me if we could talk. I said, sure. And I was really angry. And this person said, well, you seem not to be ready to talk. And I was like, you don't get to say that. Like, you don't get to make a judgment on my readiness to talk based upon your very, very poor behavior. But that's how you can dismiss someone. Like, you're just being angry. You're just being crazy. You're holding on to this too long. You're making too much of it. No, I'm not. I can respond to this however I see fit because you did something inappropriate.
Yeah. And I did see your message on the SF list, which kind of shocked and saddened me.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, I think we have these rose-tinted spectacles where we thought the SF world was beyond that.
Yeah, what happened was
my life was thinking the SF world was beyond that.
Yeah, what happened was, Elliott, is the two babies, if you like, of the SF world just joined this list, super excited, and then boom, mum and dad are arguing. And I was like, what? And again, you know, me being me, and you know me now, right? It was like my bubble was just burst. My everything. I was like, what is going on? And it
Yeah.
was terrible. And I thought, God, you know, if as SF practitioners that is what's happening there, then it's amplified everywhere else.
No, I agree. I mean, I think. Well, by the way, sorry for being the arguing parents.
No. I'm just saying, you know, we love you and we respect you, and that's not because of anything other than the fact that you're a fantastic human being.
Thank you.
And your gender or your race or your nothing ever comes into that. I don't look at you as a black man. I look at you as Elliott Connie, the one that keeps me up at night because I can't stop looking at your videos. But that's it. And that's what I don't understand about most people is if you are annoying me, it's not because you are black, and it's not because you're white, and it's not because you're Indian. It's because you're just an annoying person.
Well,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You are just an annoying person, and that's literally the full stop. A bad person's a bad person. A good person's a good person, but nothing else comes into it. And there's bad and good in every culture, every race.
Yeah, but we don't. I think so. I remember being the baby in the solution focused community way back in 2008, and I've experienced. I mean, I'm 43 years old. I've been experiencing racism my entire life. I've experienced closed doors when other people experience open doors my whole life, and I'll never forget going to my first solution focused conference back in 2008, feeling like there won't be any discrimination because the entrance point into this room, into this community, has two criteria. I remember honestly thinking this as I drove down to this conference. I drove to it in 2008. The first point of entry to the solution focused community is I have to have some sort of a credential to make me a helping professional, right? Like I have to have some credential, depending upon where I'm from. I have to have some credential that makes me a helping professional. And the second credential I have to have is an interest in solution-focused brief therapy. And I remember thinking, like, I have both of those boxes checked. Like, I remember thinking that. Like, I have a credential that makes me a helping professional, and I have an interest in solution-focused brief therapy. The last thing I expected was to be discriminated against. But over the next several years, I learned discrimination exists where humans exist, and solution-focused professionals are not exempt. What happened on the listserv with Michael Durant has been a long-term problem, as it pertains to exclusion. And I have been told that over the course of years by many trusted sources, but Michael Durant has been a long-term problem. And I made the decision years ago that I will not be silent. I don't care if it's popular or not. I would rather lose my career and make my living driving taxi cabs than compromise who my grandmother taught me to be. So I'm going to be verbal about these things. And what happened on the listserv was I believe he was using this current environment as an opportunity to be disingenuous. So I just said, I'm very happy for you to be an ally, but here's what allyship actually looks like when you've been a wrongdoer. Now, to his credit, he did send me an email saying, like, can we talk on the phone? And I said, sure. But to my previous point, I haven't heard from him since in 3 weeks. So, like, that's what I mean when I say, like, if something wrong happens, and none of us are perfect, we all have our biases. If something wrong happens, if you truly had a spirit and a heart of resolve, there would be a bit more urgency and a bit more sincerity with that resolution. And that has not been the case all the time in this solution-focused community. So I decided to stand up to it. I decided years ago, if you guys keep trying to close this door, I remember telling somebody else, if you keep trying to close this door to me, you're going to have an Elliott Connie problem. Because I'm not going to shut up, and I'm not going to change what I do. You're going to have an Elliott Connie problem, and unfortunately for the people who wanted things to stay the same, that Elliott Connie problem got to be quite big because I became the most followed person in this field, which made they can't ignore me.
Mm.
Yeah.
But I did that on purpose. Like I was totally telling them, you're going to treat me with respect or I will become the Elliott Connie problem. And the community now has an Elliott Connie problem.
Yeah.
Or at least not the community, but the biggest in the community have an Elliott Connie problem.
Yeah. So how are things? I know what you were saying was quite interesting about keeping that. There's that window of opportunity and keeping it open. How are things in Texas? Because obviously, like I said before, I think in the UK we kind of kid ourselves that we've got it so much better.
Well, I think you do have. How do I say this? I think you do have things better in the UK, and I also think you don't have things better in the UK. So things in Texas are weird, to be quite honest with you. Like things in Texas are just strange. I was at a local restaurant the other day, and there was a man wearing a Donald Trump hat, and he clearly did not enjoy I was sitting close to him at the restaurant. And it's just like things in Texas are just weird. But there's something about, you know what? I'll use another example. There is something about the American culture that I think is different than other cultures around the world. And I've been to, I don't know, 20, 25 countries, whatever it is. One of the common themes I hear when I go to other countries is they all say, we don't understand your country's relationship with guns.
Mm.
Like everybody will say, we don't understand why America will allow such mass atrocities with guns without passing gun restrictions. And my answer is always the same. Like, I don't understand either. But like, if someone is driving a car and they get into a fatal accident and they kill innocent people, immediately they will pass a law. Like, nobody in the car can be in the car without wearing a seatbelt. Like, we need to protect people. Like, someone was driving, they got in a really bad accident, and because nobody was wearing a seatbelt, everybody died. So immediately they will pass a law. Everybody must now wear seatbelts. Like, it's just the law. And if someone grabs a gun and they walk into a highly populated area, a concert, school, a movie theater, and they shoot a bunch of people, we don't pass laws to protect people. And I don't understand it. It's just something about the American culture. Racism is so interwoven in the American culture that when you speak up against it, people think you're speaking up against America. And I don't know why that's the case. I don't believe that's the case in the UK. I don't believe that's the case in Sweden, Denmark, other places. While I do know those other places have racism, but there's something about racism being so woven into the fabric of this country. When you say something like Black Lives Matter, people think you're fighting America instead of fighting racism. I remember the very first time I heard about the organization Black Lives Matter. I remember the very first time I heard about the women who founded that. I just thought, what a cool name. Because you can't debate that. Like, Black lives, in fact, matter because they're lives. But here we are a couple of years later after that organization was founded, and I'm like, holy shit, we can't even agree on a Black person's ability to say, my life matters.
Yeah.
That's really, really strange to me. Like, I don't understand. If someone said breast cancer research is important, I wouldn't say, well, you're disrespecting colon cancer. How could you not include colon? Like, it sounds ridiculous in any other auspice. But in our world, if I say Black Lives Matter, someone's going to say, but blue lives matter. All lives matter. How could you? It's like, whoa, all I said was I matter. And I think what we should say, instead of trying to correct me, we should say, what has happened in your life that's caused you to feel like your life, in fact, does not matter? I think that is how we talk with compassion. Because if someone were to ask me that question, I would tell you, there have been things that have happened that makes me think my very existence is less of an importance than someone else's very existence.
Mm.
I would just like to matter. And the fact that we can't even agree on that causes me to feel even less respected and even less safe.
Mm. Yeah. Wow.
Actually, this reminds me
So,
of a time. Sorry, Joe, that my cousin and his wife and his 2 children at the time were maybe 10 and 12, and they were doing a tour of America, and each time in certain certain counties of America, each time they stop at a zebra crossing, what we call a zebra crossing in London, and a black person was, to give way to a black person to cross. If the black person would look at them and say, are you taking a mick out of us? Because apparently there, wherever they were, I can't remember, if you stop, the white people or the Americans would wait for the black person to start crossing the road, and then you pretend to run them over, or you do.
mm,
And it was almost like teasing them, like, I've got the power, I'm in a vehicle, I'm going to run you over. So then my cousins got the car, like, we're so sorry, we did not realize that this is what's happening. And then they had to decide whether they stop or they don't stop. Do they stop? Do they don't stop? Because in London, you just stop, don't you?
But the thing that's so funny about that example, right? So I cannot tell you how many times I've been harassed, like walking across the street, for example, in that exact way.
Wow.
And people will look at me, and I've had people tell me, but you don't experience racism, like you're successful, like you've made it. I'm like, yeah, but when I'm walking across the street and some teenage punks are revving their engine, pretending like they're gonna run me over, they don't know that I'm a successful person. Like, before anybody knows anything about me, what you see is the just what you see.
Yeah.
And before you see that I've written books, and before you see that I spend almost every woken hour of my day trying to touch people's lives, what you see is a black man. And if you haven't been taught to value what you see, then you will treat that person disrespectfully.
It's so silly. I mean, it's not funny. It's just laughable that this is how it is.
It is laughable. It is laughable.
It's so silly.
It's this way everywhere.
I mean, I remember them coming back and telling us this story, and I didn't believe them.
It happens.
Wow.
I've had those things happen all across the street. I've had people throw things at me. I've had people call me names. It's just I mean, like, within the past year. In fact, during the Trump administration, it's been much, 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 much worse because people feel empowered and supported from a systemic level to behave poorly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess when someone in power can say such outrageous things, it gives other people courage to say things that are maybe just a little bit less outrageous, but still nonetheless outrageous. If you see what I mean, it kind of has a knock-on effect.
100%. When the president of the United States, when there is a murder at a peaceful protest, like in Charlottesville, North Carolina, or South Carolina, wherever it was, Virginia maybe, whatever it was, but the Unite the Right movement a few years ago, a white man killed a bunch of black people with his car, and there was a non-violent protest. And when the president of the United States describes them as very fine people, we knew we were less safe. We instantly knew that empowers the people who would intend to do me harm. Now, I don't know how many of those people there are. I'm not saying that that's most white people, but I'm saying however many of them there are just got empowered by what the president of the United States just did.
Yeah.
He's basically giving them a weapon and a license.
Well, he has weaponized privilege for sure.
Yeah.
And here in the U.S., I think privilege is something that is weaponized. And I think what is happening now is the de-weaponization of privilege. Like, I hope more than anything that comes out of this is people feel more welcomed and more safe.
Yeah. And there's gonna be quite rightly, and that should never be taken away from anyone, but there's gonna be many black teenagers, young people, children, absolutely upset, angry right now. And to be honest, other than listening to that, so I'm just talking, I'm being very selfish now. So, we work with some fantastic, and I'm very selfish, Elliott. I can training him wherever I can. Say we have, I'm thinking of one of our kids who I love dearly. He's so funny, and he's going to be really angry. What else can I offer him? I'm being completely legitimate here, because I need to know, because I can listen to him, I can agree with him. I want to say to him, don't fit, because people stereotype, don't they? People will stereotype. You make something of yourself, do what you want to do, but I don't know if this comes up. How should I be best supportive? Or do I just ask them, how would you like me to support you?
But I think what you're doing is supportive. I think listening with compassion, and when someone says, like, I'm so angry, I could, like, explode, not making them feel like they shouldn't be angry. Because, like, we all know, like, the world is not fair. Like, we get it. Like, we understand. But when I experience something that makes me angry, for someone to say, like, to value my opinion and what I'm saying, that is healing in and of itself.
Yeah.
I think that matters. So I don't think there's nothing you can do to fix the system se, but there is something you can do to at least validate my experience for having gone through the system.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was just thinking of there was a very enlightening conversation. It was one of the London radio stations. I can't remember the man's name, but he was I think he was head of the British Association of Counselling Psychotherapy, 6'3" black man, and he said even now when he goes to a cash point and he stands behind somebody and they suddenly remove the card, or they flee in such panic that they leave the card behind, and yet he's obviously very gentle. It's just because of his size and the color of his skin, and it kind of shocked me in a way that's still there after all this time.
Oh, for sure.
That's how much we've been in our bubble, though, because I'm not going to lie about Elliott, because we don't actually see that. Because we have Turkish people coming into the office, Polish people coming into the office, black people coming into the office, Indian people coming in, and they're just people. So,
but they're not.
No, but because we are not kind of thinking, because the conversation's never been had. That's where it's difficult. So now the conversations, when the office does reopen eventually, when now we know, we need to make a conscious effort to listen and not guide them, but kind of see what else we can do to support them if need be.
Absolutely true. I would never, as a black man, and I would never go to a cash machine and stand behind a white person at night. I would be afraid for my life.
Oh, geez.
That person could turn around and shoot me and then tell the police I was afraid. I thought he was going to rob me for my money. And that would probably work. So if it was like 9 o'clock at night or 10 o'clock at night and I needed to get money out of a cash machine and I pulled up and there was a white man or white woman standing at the cash machine, I would not get in line behind them.
Wow.
No way.
Would you do that in London? I'm not saying London's perfect, but would you do that in London?
But see, it's a good question. I'm more likely to do it in London because I'm less afraid that the person in London is carrying a gun. Yeah. I'm not afraid of confrontation. So, like, if someone in London were to turn around and say, I think you're trying to steal my money, I'm very happy to have a confrontation with that person. In America, and particularly in Texas, that person may turn around and shoot me. So yeah, I'm much more likely to do it in cultures where I don't fear the person is holding a gun. It is very rare to walk around London, England, holding a weapon. And when you combine something like the fear associated with racism, the dehumanization of Black people, while I'm holding a gun. I'm now afraid of a Black person. I don't value that person's life, and I have the weapon to shoot them. That is a very bad mix. And I think that's what happened to Ahmaud Arbery, the young man who was just jogging down the street. People are afraid of Black people, so he looked like a criminal. They don't value his life. Even if he looked like a criminal, then tackle him and call the police. Like, if you truly think like you look like a criminal, then great, treat him like a criminal. Why did you shoot him 3 times in the middle of the street? Right? It's just different being Black. It's just different. There was a horrible situation. This guy named Dylan Roof, he went into a church, a Black church. I'm fairly confident it was in Charleston, South Carolina. And he sat through a church service. He prayed with the Black people there, and then he killed 9 of them. Right? Inside the church, he got up and he shot 9 of them. The police came and arrested him. They gave him a water bottle, and on their way to the police department, they took him to Burger King. So you're telling me that, like, a mass murderer gets treated with more dignity than a Black guy who's just jogging down the street? And that's the problem. Like, you just justify, but he looked like a criminal. And I'm like, so fucking what? I don't care if he was a criminal. Like, I don't care if he is jogging down the street and in one hand he's got a knife dripping blood and in the other hand he's got a gun with smoke coming out of it. You wouldn't treat him the way you treated him if he looked a different way. Like, the justified is like he looked like a criminal, but that's what I'm saying. Like, human life needs to matter, whether it is a criminal human life or a non-criminal human life. Human life needs to matter. And when an unarmed Black man is just jogging down the street, if you think he's a criminal, tackle him, call the police, do anything except end his life, because you can't apologize for that. Like, if you think he's a criminal and you tackle him and it turns out he's not, at least you can apologize. You can do one of those stupid Facebook posts, I'm so sorry that I did this, I'm not someone that, but at least the person's alive. Ahmaud Arbery is gone. Like, he is not here. And what he did wrong was jog through a white neighborhood in Georgia. That's crazy to me. That's crazy. Dylan Roof is still here. And he is treated with dignity, even though he murdered 9 people in a church. He is still here. He is sitting in a prison cell, but he has the memory of, because they knew I was on my way to prison, they gave me one last decent meal. I got to have a really good Burger King meal. And it doesn't make any sense. All we're asking for is what every human being would be asked for, like, treat me with dignity. Whether or not I'm a criminal or not shouldn't remove my ability to be treated with dignity. There should be no difference between Elliott, the famous psychotherapist, and Elliott, the person who's made some mistakes in his past. Like, there should be no difference in the way we treat those people. But we do. We totally do. And I'm aware, in the solution-focused field, the worst thing a Black man can do is be different. And I don't know that there's a lot of, like, evil people in our field. I don't mean to insinuate that. But I do mean to say Elliott looked different than the package had ever looked before. So, like, we were used to white men, Steve DeShazer and Bill O'Hanlon and Chris Iveson, Evan George, and Harvey Ratner. And we were used to white women, Linda Metcalf and Michelle Weiner Davis. And in some degree, there's a lot of research that says Asians are often given the privilege of white people. Elliott was the first person who showed up wearing a hoodie and baggy pants. Not many people knew what to do with it. And at the very first conference I went to, someone said, "You're really, really an engaging speaker. There are a lot of people going to have a problem with that." And I was like, what? That happened. Someone said that to me in 2008, my very first lecture at a solution-focused conference. Someone said that to me, and I was like, what are you talking about? Like, no one's going to have a problem with me because I don't have any ill will towards anybody. But it turns out what that person was saying was, you're the only Black man doing this.
Yeah.
And there are certain people who are going to have a hard time accepting that. And I'm not even saying that those people are like bigoted. I'm pretty sure if you ask those people, should people like Elliott have the ability to vote? I'm sure they'd say yes. Should people like Elliott have the ability to get a home loan? They'd say yes. But they're privileged, like they weren't aware of it. Like it's almost like it's just I couldn't see it. Elliott's wearing a hoodie. Elliott's wearing baggy clothes. Elliott's got a different kind of attitude about him. It makes me feel like I'm uncomfortable, and that's what privilege does. I'm uncomfortable, so thus something must be wrong.
Elliott,
And
I was extremely uncomfortable when you were wearing a hoodie in the last solution focused summer school we went to because it was so hot. I was looking at you and I was sweating and I thought, what is he doing? I'm in a sauna for him. So yeah, you did make me feel uncomfortable wearing a hoodie and a t-shirt, by the way. And it was like 30, 31 degrees. We were in like a green room, you know, and I'm like, what is he doing?
Can't help it.
I've actually got a couple of questions for you from a lady with a mixed race teenage daughter, and she's devastated at both past and recent events, and she's finding it hard to ease her daughter's pain and her anger. And as ignorant as this may sound, what she's asking, what can she do apart from acknowledge and try to emphasize? Although I will truly never know that fear because she's a white mum with a mixed race daughter. She's asking what else can she do to support her?
Teach her to love herself.
Yeah,
that's what you do. When you grow up as a Black person, the entire world so consistently gives you the message there's something wrong with you. It's very easy to have self-esteem issues, and it's very easy to take that on. If you guys have been following me for a long time, you often hear me referencing my grandmother. My grandmother is like the very important person in my life, influence in my life. That's what I was looking for. And she taught me that Black is beautiful. And she taught me that different doesn't mean wrong. And she taught me that it's okay to like love myself. So that when you do experience these messages from the world, you don't have to take them on. So as a mom of a mixed race child, I would say teach her to love herself and to embrace what makes her different. Because our culture is beautiful. Like one of the things that drives me nuts is people are like, Elliott, your people used to be slaves. And I'm like, no, that's actually not true, right? My people used to be kings. My people used to be doctors and attorneys. You made them slaves. My history didn't start with slavery. Slavery was the detour. Slavery was the exception. Before slavery, we were kings. We had democracy. We had community. We were doctors, lawyers, teachers. You went and captured us and turned us into slaves. So I come from a rich culture. A lot of people think that my culture started at slavery. No, it didn't. We were not born into slavery. We were dragged into it from a history of wealth and richness. So teach your children that you don't come from poverty. You come from strength and beauty. You come from life. Like the first people on the planet Earth who said, let's create a community and let's create some rules, were on the continent of Africa. Like, teach people that like your history is rich and that what we learn in school is not the richness of that history. What we learn in school is the whitewashing that has taken place, which makes people think like Elliott comes from slaves. No, that's not true. Elliott comes from strength that you somehow turned into slaves for a 400-year period of time. But my history goes way beyond that 400-year history of time. So teach your children that there's beauty in what makes them different. There's beauty in their culture. Teach them to love themselves because that's how you can endure the injustices and the unfairnesses that people are going to experience in the world.
Wow. Selma, I really hope that helps because that was poetry to me. Elliott, Mark, I love you. Mark is absolutely fantastic. But I'm going to actually just put your question up on here because it's too long for me to read out and Elliott might lose the flow. Elliot, can you read
All right.
that?
Yep. So what would happen of these new BLM does not make real change? If. What would happen to you? I often find myself, my eyes are not working well. I often ask myself, would there not be real revolution in the US? If not, why not? I'm not promoting revolution or even violent revolution, but sometimes these questions come up. So I'm not promoting violence either. I am not a proponent of violence, but I will tell you, and this is not a black issue, this is a human issue. Violent protest is usually because you didn't listen to the silent protest. So I'm telling you, there's an attitude of anger in the black community here in the United States. And 4 years ago, when that attitude of anger was expressed by some athletes kneeling on a field, it didn't work. It didn't lead towards change. It didn't lead towards change. The only thing that's ever led towards change, at least in the African American context of the civil rights movement, is financially impacting the system. And I'll give you an example. And I think it's happening now, by the way, but I'll give you an example. One of the most impactful things that happened in America was the civil rights movement. In the civil rights movement was the Montgomery bus boycott. And most people know the name Rosa Parks, where Rosa Parks, she refused to give up her seats to a white man. It led to a boycott of the buses in Montgomery, which led to changing of the rules in Montgomery, right? So that was a very significant thing. But what people don't realize is the Montgomery bus boycott lasted 384 days. So it wasn't like white people woke up one day and they went, oh, these rules are stupid, let's change them. It wasn't like that. The Montgomery bus boycott lasted 384 days, and multiple white-owned bus companies went out of business because without the black people riding on the buses, they couldn't sustain themselves. So after 384 days, the remaining bus companies said, we don't want to go out of business. Fine, we'll change the rules. So I think, to Mark's question, like, is there going to be a revolution? Yes, but it's got to be a financial revolution, which is kind of what's happening now. Brands are now saying, we are going to celebrate Juneteenth. And one of the reasons we're saying that is because if we don't, social media is going to accuse our company of being racially insensitive, which will cost us money. So let's go ahead and change the rules, right? So people are angry. And right now we're in a space where we're absolutely demanding change. If you've been following me, I've been saying this for years in the Solution Folks community. You are going to become more diverse. And you know what? I often think about this. Dinosaurs did not go extinct because of an asteroid. Dinosaurs became extinct because of their inability to adapt to the post-asteroid environment. So an asteroid has just hit the solution-focused world. So you are either going to adapt, you better get into the water, you better find another way to find food, you better adapt, or you will go extinct. I'm promising you that. If you decide to continue to behave in a bigoted way, you will become extinct. And I will work more passionately than you've ever seen a human being work towards anything to make sure your bigoted ideologies are no longer part of this field.
Oh, you just keep showing me and proving to me why we love you so much. You need to just stop it. You're going to have a big head soon. It's amazing.
And what Elliott was saying about education, that because he's right, in schools it's the slave trade, and we only see it one way. And he's absolutely right. We need to look at the way we educate our young.
It's true. That's totally true. My culture did not start at slavery. That was the detour.
Wow.
So Mark has Mark, hold on. Mark. So would a demonstration against the Second Amendment against guns over a long period, would that be useful?
I think it would be. So in American history, as I just pointed out, we are not a culture that quickly puts in gun restrictions, right? Like we're not good at it. The only time in American history that they have quickly put gun restrictions in was when there was a slave uprising led by a guy named Nat Turner. And the United States government passed a law that said African Americans cannot own guns, right? The only time it happened. So imagine what would happen here in America. The largest gun supporting organization is called the NRA, the National Rifle Association. Imagine what would happen if every black person went and bought a gun and applied for an NRA license. They would pass a law because educated, armed black people scare the system. I mean, that's just reality. Why did I scare the Michael Durants of the world? Because I'm an educated black man. That's just, an educated black man is like your 6'3" friend. You know what I mean? Like, it's just the way that it goes. And I think if we do galvanize, and I think the George Floyd situation happening at a time when the world was like on pause, everybody saw that video. Yeah. Because like we weren't at work in the way that we would have been a year ago. We weren't distracted like shopping and on vacation. We were all sitting in front of our computers. We were all holding our phones. And we all saw that video. And it made us take a pause. And now there's like a collective action to create change. So to Mark's point, I think if there's a collective action to address the Second Amendment, which I don't know that the Second Amendment needs to be changed necessarily, but I do think if someone walks into I guarantee you, if I go into the school today, right now, if I walk into a school, even though here in the US most schools are closed, but if I walk into a school right now and I am not wearing a mask, which, by the way, look, I got my mask right here. If I'm not wearing a mask, if I go into a school and I touch a bunch of things and I sneeze and cough, and then the next day a bunch of kids have COVID-19, the school is immediately going to pass a rule. No one can come into school without a mask. Like, if you don't have a mask, you can't come into the school, because we recognize harm. We recognize that this is a problem. So the next person who comes to the school without a mask, we're going to stop them from doing so. What scares me and what I find incredibly weird is if I walk into that same school with a gun, they don't pass a similar law. Like, they don't say, we need to figure out a way to keep these guns out of these schools. They do something even weirder, which here in the US, what they did the last time this happened was they said, let's put more guns in schools by armed teachers. And I'm like, what? You guys are losing your mind. Because as a black person, you know who would get shot? The black kids at the school.
Yeah, I remember that. It's totally bizarre. Totally bizarre. It's almost like a comedy show. You know, you just wouldn't believe it. You just would not believe that's what they came up with to try and solve this problem. It's, you know, let we see a challenge, just create a bigger challenge.
That's right. And it's kind of like saying, like, there's poison in the school. So instead of figuring out a way to remove the poison, let's just add more poison to counteract the first poison. Yeah. You don't realize that once you do that, now you have to add a third poison to count. You know what I mean? Like, it's a never-ending cycle. Instead of just get the damn guns out. Like, why is that so hard? Just get rid of the guns. And I'm not saying the legal gun owners who want to go hunt, but seriously, do you go hunt deer with an AK-47? Is that the desired weapon for hunting a deer, an AK-47? Like, is that what's necessary? No. It's ridiculous.
Leave the deers alone, people. Oh, guys, I'm totally against hunting, totally against guns, as most people are. Please just get a life. Do something different. Get a pellet gun. Shoot yourself. See how much it hurts. I don't care. Just shoot each other with a pellet gun if that's what you want. But I don't know if you got a chance, because I know you're a busy guy. But Linda Metcalf, there was a bit of a mention about you last night when we had her on FBS Chat as you being one of her students.
I was one of her students. It's true.
She was one of your students, and you know, she always speaks very, very highly of you. And I think this is the third time that she's kind of mentioned your name to me, which is absolutely fantastic. And it really does bring it to home that anyone can do anything as long as you have the opportunity and people around you just allow you to do it. and not
Sure.
when you're not being suppressed. But
Sure.
also alongside with that, because you could have given up many times. You had, because I've been to your seminars and your training, and I know there is a history of your family and everything else that you do speak of. There were so many opportunities for you, and I'm going to say, as a young black man growing up in America, where you could have said, "Screw that, I'm not. That's it. I'm not doing it." So
Definitely true.
what made you, use that, channel that stubbornness into such a way where you're now, in my view, looking at people going, ha ha ha, look at me. And quite rightly, but you had many opportunities not to be successful or to be successful somewhere else. So
True.
what kept you going?
So that's a really complicated answer. So number one is I'm aware that I come from a history of kings, and kings don't ever, ever, ever quit. Like one of my favorite quotes is, "The ground is no place for a champion." So it's very difficult to keep you down if you view yourself as a champion. Number two is I owe it to the people who had invested in me. I would rather fail than quit. Because if I fail, at least I can tell the Linda Metcalfs of the world, the Chris Iversons of the world, the Adam Furwers of the world. If I fail, at least I can say I tried my absolute very, very best. And the other thing is I genuinely believe that the rot and the stink of hatred will always, always, always show itself. So if I can just be true to who I am, the right side will always win out. And if you guys know me, like, I've never said a bad word about Michael. Like, all these people, like, I don't say anything bad about them. My teaching has nothing to do with them. I just show up, I do my thing, and that's it. And that's because I don't ever want to be a bad person. Even when I'm facing people doing bad people things, I don't ever want to be a bad person, because I genuinely believe good will always win if you can be stubborn enough to hold on.
Yeah. I like that. I do. I love that. Any last questions, Joe?
Well, I was just going to say, we've always, when we first saw you at Brief, when we saw you speak, we thought, oh yeah, now this makes sense. We've always admired and respected you, and even more so after tonight. I think you've been fantastic.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for spending this time with us.
No, thank you. And thank you guys for giving the opportunity. I think these are really, really important conversations. And if we don't have them, the window will close. It's been such an honor and privilege to be a part of this, because we got to hold this window for change open. And it has to be all of us. It has to be Europeans, Americans, Canadians, South Africans. It has to be white people, black people, male, female, gay, straight. It has to be all of us who say, in a kind, dignified society, racism should have no place. And we should all be striving for a kind, dignified society.
Oh, what a great way to end that. But honestly, Elliott, you're our number one. And I love Gil, and I love Linda, and I love you all. But guys, if it wasn't for Elliott, I would not have been an SF practitioner today. And he knows that. And he remembers me with the crutches and the wheelchair and everything else. He has a mind like an elephant. Seriously. You really do.
Really true. I remember that. I do.
Oh
Absolutely.
my Lord. He totally remembers that. And like I said, I remember the sweatshirt. I did have an issue with it.
I'm wearing one now. I can't help it.
I know, but I don't understand how you can wear a sweatshirt and a t-shirt when it's like 31 degrees.
It's more like 38 degrees here today.
Yeah, but like in London that day, I remember looking and it said 31 degrees, and that didn't take into account that we were in a room full of windows. In fairness,
London is the only place I've ever been where you experience all 4 seasons in one day. So it might have been 31 degrees in the afternoon, but in the morning it was like 12 degrees. In the evening it was like 9 degrees and raining. So like you have to be fully prepared for anything in London every single day.
Oh God! Well, you know, I look forward to seeing you in person very soon. But I
wait.
see you every
Can't wait.
day on the internet, and you know I keep moaning about it, but I love it. So for some of you that don't know, there is SF University is a fantastic, albeit deadly. You know, it's a university for SF practitioners or anyone that wants to learn SF, really, isn't it, Elliot?
Yeah, so it's an online community that was actually born out of all of this exclusion I've been talking about. It's an online community because I didn't feel welcome in the global community itself. And back then I was like, well, the internet has kind of taken off, and so right now it's an online community, practitioners from all around the world dedicated to training and mastering solution-focused therapy, and it's the largest library of solution-focused training material in the entire world.
Yeah, and I am totally addicted to it. I was saying to Elliot and Joe before we went live that it's that last piece of cake, the slice of cake that you think, oh, you know, I'm not going to eat that, and you bin it, and then at night you wake up thinking, I need it.
That's right.
And there's been many a times, as Joe knows, I've woken up 2, 3 in the morning just to watch the last video of Elliot training, especially the diamond. I love the SF diamond. That one I've memorized in my head totally. But you know, honestly, I've actually used that in one of my essays, and I did write your name referring to Elliot's diamond.
Well, if anybody out there is interested in joining the community, we're going to open registration later this year. So just go to my website, elliottconnie.com. Make sure you spell my name right, 2 L's, 2 T's.
Yep.
And join my mailing list, and then you'll be notified later this year when we open things up.
Brilliant.
There we go. I'll put it there. Thank you so much. And you and I are constantly chatting anyway, so I will speak to you soon. And you take care. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Elliot.
Thanks,
Brilliant. Thank you.
Right, everyone. That was Elliott Connie, and as you guys know, we admire him so much. He's such a fantastic person. But if you do have any questions regarding the Black Lives Matter, do email us, either Joe and I, to ask questions to Elliot if you want us to, or for anything else. Speak to you soon.
Bye.